The next topic that we would start is water pollution. According to the statistics, more than 100 million people live in areas of poor water quality. You can see the areas here in red. So these areas are basically more than the set. These areas have water quality more than the set standards. So like the ones in red have maximum water pollution, and the water quality is really poor in these areas. Also, 50% of India faces high to extremely high water stress, and 50% of India's groundwater wells are decreasing. So these are the sources of water pollution, which include untreated sewage, urbanization, industries, agriculture runoff and improper agriculture practices, withdrawal of water, religious practices, oil leaks from ships, acid rain, eutrophication and denitrification. So we'll start with untreated sewage as the first reason behind water pollution. It is the single most important source of pollution of surface and groundwater in India. And the problem is there is a large gap between generation and treatment of domestic wastewater in India. According to 1992 study by WHO, India's 3,119 towns and cities, out of these many thousand cities, just 209 have partial sewage treatment facilities and only 8 have full wastewater treatment facilities. So the thing is, investment is needed to bridge the gap between the sewage India generates and the treatment capacities of sewage per day. As one of the studies stated, the major cities of India produce around 38,000 million liters per day of sewage, but urban sewage capacity for these plants is only 11,000 million liters per day. So most of the water is let out untreated in most of the rivers and lakes of India. So here you can see that they've shown the BOD, that is the biochemical oxygen demand of water. And so if you have a reading between 1 and 2 milligrams, then it's going to be a very clean water. But if you have readings close to 20, it's going to be very unclean and dirty, polluted water. And these are the current BOD values from different locations in the country. And as you can see that none of the rivers have reading close to the set standards which we talked about before. So that means the water quality is very poor in most of the locations of rivers in India. The next reason for pollution is urbanization. Rapid urbanization in India during the recent decades has given rise to a number of environmental problems such as water supply, wastewater generation and its collection, treatment and disposal. So many towns and cities which came up on the bank of rivers were developed like years ago. So this was because they were close to rivers because they used to get fresh water supply. So since more people moved from rural to urban areas, there has to be a stress on everything. So there was a stress on the water as well. The cities that were developed over the banks were not given proper thought about proper sewage and proper water waste management, etc. So nearly 80% of water supply from domestic use passes out as wastewater. Part of water percolates towards ground and contaminates groundwater as well. Cities with population more than 1 lakh generate as much as 16,000 million liters per day, but only 70% of the population is provided with proper sewage facility. There are really populated regions around river Ganga, and the Ganga river basin contributes about 1/3 of the total wastewater of entire India, which is a serious issue. As per the latest estimates, out of 2,000 million liters per day of the wastewater generated, only 6,000 is treated before it is let out. Treated or partially treated or untreated wastewater is disposed into the natural drains which join the rivers or lakes or used on land for irrigation and cultivation purposes. So you can see here that the biggest industry which is generating wastewater is the engineering, followed by pulp and paper and then textiles. So the total wastewater generated from all major industrial sources is 83,000 million liters per day. While many large-scale industries claim to have installed costly treatment and disposal equipment, these are often not in proper working order. There are about 3 million small-scale and cottage industrial units in India. These industries neither have nor can they afford appropriate sanitation or pollutant disposal systems. Their solid waste and sludge get scattered around or dumped in unlined pits, and effluents flow to streams through storm drains or stagnate in depressions to percolate, leach or get washed off during the next rainy season, which is drained off in the rivers. Another reason is the withdrawal of water. So most problem with Himalayan rivers like Ganga, it has plenty of water which comes down the Himalayas in their upper course. But however, what happened is the water is taken away by the irrigation in the northern plains. As we have talked about earlier, the northern plains were the most fertile land, and so agriculture is going to be in abundance there. So the water is has to be consumed. So then, while it comes down, reaches the populated cities, so there is a lot of wastewater and effluent added to it. So people do not get the fresh water, which they used to before. Another reason is religious practices. So this is because people consider putting carcasses of cattle and animals and dead bodies of humans into the river Ganga, because as we had talked about the river Ganga earlier, it is considered to be the most holy river of India. So putting carcasses of cattle and dead bodies of humans is considered to be holy, and they think that if they put that in the river, the person will be free from all sins. So carcasses of cattle and other animals are disposed in the rivers, dead bodies are cremated on the river banks, partially burnt bodies are also flung into the river. All this is done as a matter of religious faith and in keeping with ancient rituals. Another reason recently which has been popping up for water pollution in India is the leaked oil, even from cars and machines. It's a principal contributor to water pollution. It is important to clean up wasted oil and either dispose it properly or keep it for later use. Soil erosion can also contribute to water pollution, and thus planting more trees can be done to manage it. Use of products containing lesser amounts of volatile organic compounds and using right methods to dispose toxic wastes. Finally, what is being done to improve? There is growth of Indian wastewater treatment plant market annually at the rate of 10 to 12%. The Central Pollution Control Board, a Ministry of Environment and Forests, Government of India entity, has established a national water quality monitoring network to monitor the water quality year-round. There is a much needed Ganga action plan which was implemented in 1984, and we are right now in the phase 2 of the Ganga action plan, and lots of NGOs have been participating to clean the river Ganga. So there has been a massive awareness among people regarding whatever was being done to the river. So we are moving towards improvisation on that. Implementation of regulations and revised regulations and actions of NGOs. The next topic that we will include is land pollution. The reasons for land pollution, the first reason that we'll talk about is the excessive use of chemical fertilizers. 43.6% of land in India is used for agriculture. The use of fertilizers gained momentum in India with the commencement of Green Revolution in 1966-67. The introduction of high-yielding varieties of seeds gave birth to heavy doses of chemical fertilizers and biocides. India is one of the largest consumers of fertilizers and one of the largest producers too. So the highest per hectare consumption of fertilizers is in Punjab, which is 189.1 kg, and followed by Haryana, which is 167.1 kg. The reason, because both Punjab and Haryana are in the northern plains, which we just talked about, which are good for agriculture, and that's why the use of fertilizers is so much. These fertilizers add unwanted chemicals in the soil, polluting it and making it uncultivable in the future. Also, there is a possibility that these chemicals may leach through the soil and enter the groundwater table. Polluted solids and liquids from industrial areas. This source got attention after the incident of uranium poisoning in the state of Punjab due to fly ash ponds of thermal power stations, which reportedly led to severe birth defects in children in the Faridkot and Bhatinda districts of the state. Most of the industries do not dispose of their waste containing harmful chemicals in a proper manner, leading to dispersion of these wastes affecting the surrounding environment. These wastes can sometimes travel for miles before settling down, thus increasing the area affected. The next reason is the poor disposal system for municipal wastes. Most of the rural and urban areas lack proper disposal system. It is common in India to find out a heap of garbage on street corners. The use of landfills is rare for the disposal of garbage. Municipal waste is generally dumped at a large dumping site or burnt in open dumps at the outskirts of the city. Since the composition of MSW, which is municipal solid waste, is mostly biodegradable, the general thinking of people is that it will decompose over time. However, dumping of more waste than it can decompose is causing the waste to accumulate. So, these are the pictures showing how open dumping of waste and burning of waste is done. This is a very common sight you will see at several places in India. But as there is more awareness spreading every year, there are developments taking place. For example, 3 cities of Gujarat state have already constructed sanitary landfills. 6 out of 22 cities have sanitary landfills, which include medium-sized cities such as Ahmedabad, Chandigarh, Jamshedpur, Mangalore, Surat and Vadodara. Integrated waste management facilities are being developed in Faridabad and Lucknow. 17 out of 22 municipal corporations want to undertake landfill gas to energy projects. India's first landfill gas to energy project to start power generation soon in Greater Mumbai, and which is in Maharashtra. Many proposals on sustainable solid waste systems in various cities have been submitted to the government, and the enforcers and the policymakers are seriously considering these options and modifications on the current policies. The next topic that we will include is noise pollution. Noise is regarded as a pollutant under the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. There are 2 major settings where noise occurs. One is the community noise, which includes the environmental, residential and domestic noise, and it is defined as noise emitted from all sources except noise at the industrial workplace. Major sources of community noise are automobiles, construction work, loudspeakers, recreational activities, fireworks, etc. And the second is industrial noise. Although the ambient noise level is reduced due to its predominant underground location, workers are at higher risk, particularly those stationed at the high noise level areas, which are the engine noise, electrical generator, etc. India is home to 3 of the world's noisiest cities, which are Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata. Noise pollution mainly occurs due to vehicular traffic and vehicular horns, but most of the noise pollution occurs during the festivals like Diwali and Ganpati. So, on the left you can see the fireworks. So, Diwali is a huge festival celebrated across India every year, and these are the firecrackers which the children are burning. On the right is the Ganpati celebration for Lord Ganpati. So, there is lots of dole and processions and lot of noise. So, again the recommendations for reducing noise pollution is stringent implementation of legislation, efficient engineering products, proper planning of roadways, that is considering their proximity to human settlements. In industrial setting, personal protective equipment, that is PPE, such as earmuffs and earplugs are required. Noise attenuation by placing vegetation around buildings. Ban on pressure horns, phasing out of 3-wheeler autos, extensive plantation of trees on roadsides, use of noise absorbent materials, adequate noise barriers around silence zone, monitoring of loudspeaker and generator sets to ensure compliance with prescribed rules. The last topic that we would like to cover is deforestation. In India, the per capita average of forest land is only 0.11 hectares, which is much lower than the world average of 1.08 hectares. India lost 1.3 million hectares of forest every year between 1972 to 73 and 1980 to 81. The maximum deforestation has occurred in Madhya Pradesh, about 2 million hectares, Maharashtra over a million hectares, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir nearly a million hectares, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan over 500,000 hectares, Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana and Gujarat have lost over half of the forest cover. In 1950, Himachal Pradesh had 38.5% of its area under forests, which has now gone down to 15%. In Jammu and Kashmir, the actual forest cover is only 6% of the total area against the official record of 60%. Reasons: faulty government forest policy, open grazing, shifting cultivation, growing demand for agricultural land, construction activity and urbanization. The negative effects, degradation of soil. Once deprived of their forest cover, the lands rapidly degrade in quality, losing their fertility and arability. The soil in many deforested areas is also unsuitable for supporting annual crops, leading to food problems. The next topic is flooding. The fertile topsoil is eroded and flooded into the lower regions. Climate change. This can be observed currently in India. The seasons and climate are really unstable. The next reason is economic loss. The occurrence and strength of floods and droughts affecting the economy. There is also loss of biodiversity. This can lead to destruction and extinction of many plants and animal species, including large animal species. In recent years, the number of tigers in India had reached low numbers due to high levels of deforestation and poaching. The population of tigers was recovered by continuous efforts by the government and various organizations. What is being done? Government policies. The Indian government's Union Ministry of Environment and Forests (MOEF) has released the first draft of a policy that may nudge the nation into complying with the United Nations REDD+ program. The local communities. There are several continuing examples of small communities taking self-propelled initiatives outside the formal structures of law and governance to protect their forests. The best known case of this is the Chipko movement in the Himalayas. So the Chipko movement, this happened years back, and because our country was moving towards industrialization and economic growth, so a few people had come to clear a patch of forest land, and the residents or the people who used to stay in the village, they protected the tree by hugging them, and they did not let them cut the trees, and finally they couldn't cut the trees because of the strong rebellion by the people who stayed there, and that's why this movement was called the Chipko movement. Stricter control over unwanted cutting of trees and protecting the reserved areas and species of plants and animals. So I would like to summarize in the end by saying that India is an example of a true developing nation. The environmental problems faced by the country are complex, and efforts have been taken towards dealing with them. Some efforts have proven successful, like the reduction of noise pollution, while some still need more attention. It is a learning process for the country which will take time, but the country has a high potential for emerging successful through these obstacles. Thank you.